It is 6:30, so I think we'll go ahead and get started. Hi everybody, I'm Sarah Vetter of the library's Community Engagement Team. Welcome tonight. Snacks in the back, restrooms out the door and on the left if you need them. Tonight we are celebrating National Pet Day, which is a very cool thing that's celebrated every year. And we have our presenter, Rita Kraft from the Anderson Humane. And Rita, you're the Volunteer Engagement Coordinator and you've been since last July of 2022. Rita works with the Volunteer Engagement Department to recruit and onboard new volunteers at Anderson for animal care, events, and more. She has a presentation for us and then she's going to open it up for questions from our audience. So let's welcome Miss Rita.
Thank you so much. We'll talk a little bit about some volunteer opportunities at Anderson Humane. I'll talk a little bit about our organization in general and talk about other ways to get involved as well. But just a little bit of basic information about Anderson Humane. We were founded in 1954, dedicated to creating positive connections between people and animals. And just to give you an idea of the scope of the work that we do, in 2022, we did adopt over 4,500 cats, dogs, and smaller critters into loving homes. So we had a really great year for adoptions last year. We also have a lot of programs that help people like seniors, veterans, and other groups like that I'll talk about a little bit later. We also have a low-cost vaccine and spay and neuter clinic as well. And in the year 2022, our wildlife department also cared for over 3,000 injured and orphaned wildlife animals. Our wildlife department is doing a ton of things and wildlife season is starting up right now, so I will definitely talk a lot more about our wildlife in just a bit. And then in the year 2022, we helped 167 wildlife animals through our Wildlife Allies program, which I'll also talk about in just a little bit as well. But this just gives you an idea of the impact that we've had just last year and kind of what the work we do is. We have a few different locations actually for Anderson Humane. Our main shelter is the one in South Elgin, the one that you're probably the most familiar with. It's kind of off of Route 64. And then we also have two smaller adoption sites in Bloomingdale. That one's kind of off of Army Trail Road in the back of the Petco at Bloomingdale. And we also have an adoption site at North Aurora, which is on Randall Road. It's right next to the Pet Supplies Plus and the Aldi there. And then we also do have kind of smaller kitten condo structures at the Algonquin Petco and the Petco in South Elgin. We just have kittens in those Algonquin and South Elgin Petcos there. And those Petcos are completely run by volunteers. Kitten season is coming up very, very soon, so we'll definitely have some kittens in those locations in not too long. But at our South Elgin shelter, that is, as I mentioned, our largest location. It has a bunch of our dogs and cats, as well as our wildlife nursery and some of our other wildlife animals. And at Bloomingdale and North Aurora, those are smaller sites, and those also have adoptable dogs and cats as well. I'm going to talk a little bit about fostering and our foster department and some opportunities there. So we're always looking for people to help foster animals, everything from dogs and puppies to cats and kittens, as well as smaller critters like bunnies, birds, rats, guinea pigs, things like that. A very significant portion of our animal population are in foster homes, typically somewhere around half of that population. So fosters are extremely important in caring for our animals and in the work that we do. Our foster program also runs our STAR program, which is our short-term animal refuge program, and that helps to foster animals for people who are going into emergency situations. So if someone is going into like a shelter stay or a hospital stay or some things like that, there are opportunities for those pets to be fostered until that person gets out of that situation. And then we have a new program that we very recently launched, which is our Doggy Day Out program. And this kind of allows people to take out a shelter dog for a couple hours or for a little bit of time during the day to kind of get that dog out, give them a little break from the shelter, do something kind of fun with them, take them on a nice walk or something, It's a really great way to see kind of what a dog's personality is like outside of the shelter, kind of gives them a little break from the shelter environment and everything, but that's been a really great program that we have, and definitely do recommend it, and that's through our foster department. So on our foster application, there is a section to indicate if you're interested in doing a doggy day out. So that's a little bit of information just on our foster department and some of our opportunities there. For some of our other community programs that we have our military veterans program. We do offer adoption discounts to veterans and to active duty military members. We also offer opportunities for fostering for the pets of people who are being deployed in the military or armed services and need somewhere for their pets to be fostered. This is definitely a program that we're definitely trying to grow a lot, so this is definitely going to expand quite a bit in the future. We have our Constant Companions program, and this is a really great program that allows people to have their animals taken care of if they're having trouble walking their dog, scooping their cat's litter, or something like that. Typically senior citizens who might struggle to do some of these things, and people can go out into the community and help take care of those animals and do those tasks. Sometimes it's more of a short-term thing, sometimes it is a little bit longer, just depending on the assignment. Our Healing Paws program is a therapy pets program where pretty much any sociable and well-behaved animal can be certified as a therapy pet. We kind of have this program that they go through where they take a little test, and if they do pass the test for certification, they'll be certified as a therapy animal, and we do ask that they're brought out into the community once or twice a month to a place like a senior center, school, community center, somewhere like that, to kind of be shared with the community. And then we also just have some various training and behavior programs as well. I know that our training and behavior team does a lot with some kind of puppy training classes, dog training classes, and things like that. So we do have a lot of really excellent community programs and really great ways for people to get involved. We also have a clinic. Our clinic is on Randall Road in South Elgin. It's not too far from our shelter location, just a few minutes drive. But we offer a low-cost spay and neuter and low-cost vaccine clinics there. And we also do have volunteer opportunities at our clinics too, for people to kind of get a little bit of insight there. So that is our clinic. So I'll talk a little bit more about our wildlife care. So our wildlife department is definitely ramping up around this time of year. Baby season is coming up and we're getting a lot of those baby wildlife animals in. We've had quite a few baby squirrels being brought to the shelter very recently. We do take in those injured and orphaned wildlife animals, try to rehabilitate them with the goal of releasing them back out into the wild and back out into nature. And we do have volunteers that help out in wildlife. They help out with some of the feeding and cleaning and things like that go on, kind of like the syringe feeding that you see in the picture. Volunteers do kind of help with those things. And then there's other various tasks like enrichment activities and things like that in wildlife. So there's always something to do there. We have a wildlife nursery at our South Elgin shelter that has a lot of those baby wildlife animals. We get a ton of those in the spring and summer. Definitely going to be super full within the next few weeks or the next month. That nursery is usually packed with a bunch of different baby squirrels, possums, birds, other animals like that. And then we also have a wildlife location in Elburn. It's an outdoor location at the Elburn Forest Preserve. And at that location, we have some animals that are adjusting to the outdoors, as well as some animals with some higher rates of things like distemper that can't be around the domestic animals as much. So animals like raccoons, also kind of other outdoors animals like ducklings and things like that. And there's less kind of hands-on work from volunteers there, but they do help out at that kind of outdoor location a lot. And our wildlife department, as I mentioned, is definitely really going strong this year, and we have a lot coming up. They do have some events coming up that I'll talk about a little bit later, but wildlife season is definitely in full swing. We've got a lot of great volunteers helping out in wildlife, and always looking for more help in that area as well. And then we have our Wildlife Allies program, which is also done through our wildlife department, and this uses non-lethal methods to address nuisance animals. So if someone has a squirrel under their deck, a raccoon in their attic, or anything like that, volunteers can use kind of humane methods to deter those animals. And you don't really have to have any particular experience for this. You do just have to be willing sometimes to climb a ladder or things like that, but they're also looking for, people to help with transports for that, and just kind of people with some general handyman skills. So it's definitely open to a wide range of people, and they're definitely looking for some help with our Wildlife Allies program. That's another really excellent program through our wildlife, and none of our wildlife volunteer programs really require any specific experience. It is just a great way to learn about wildlife and things like that. For our adoptions, we do have an open adoptions policy, so you don't have to have any appointment or anything like that, and you can just kind of walk in during the hours that we're open to the public for an adoption, and staff will kind of go over the history of different animals that you're interested in, kind of assess different people's situations, and a lot of the time, not always the case, but a lot of the time, animals are able to go home on the same day that adopters come in. We also have a lot of different adoption events that we do throughout the year. Typically, there's like 2 or 3 a month. We actually have one this Saturday, and that's going to be at Do It Best Hardware in St. Charles. They're a really great partner with us. We've done some adoption events with them before, but we basically bring some dogs there that are adoptable, and people are able to kind of come in and go through the adoption process at those events. And I believe at the Do It Best one this weekend, there are going to be some kittens there as well, and we have volunteers that help out at our adoption events too. We also have much larger adoption events that I'll kind of talk about a little bit later, because we have some more coming up soon. But we also have other adoption events. One is on the 29th, and that's at the Pet Supplies Plus in North Aurora. And then the one after that is on May 13th, and that is also at Do It Best Hardware in St. Charles. So we do have those adoption events pretty often. We always require volunteer help for them, and they're definitely really awesome for the community. For further volunteer opportunities, our volunteers definitely do a lot for us as far as animal care. And volunteers in animal care or wildlife or anything like that do have to be at least 16 years old, but for any younger volunteers, there are opportunities outside of the shelter to do things like make enrichment toys and things like that. But for volunteering in animal care, for dog care, our volunteers help out a lot with walking dogs and doing some other things like feeding, cleaning, some things like that. We take our dogs out in the morning, midday, and evening, so we try to get our dogs out as much as we can, and volunteers are super important in getting our dogs out to walk and things like that. In cat care, we have volunteers that come in and help to socialize the cats. In the morning and evening shifts, volunteers help out a lot with the feeding and cleaning that goes on in the cat areas. And then in the middle of the day, different cats are kind of taken out like one at a time to stretch their legs and socialize and roam around and things like that. So volunteers help out a lot with cat socialization kind of in the midday. And then we do have enrichment. We do try to make sure all of our animals get all of their senses going. So we do have an enrichment team that kind of works to make interesting little meals and enrichment activities for the animals, just to kind of get their senses going and to kind of give them something interesting to do with their mind and everything like that. So volunteers, the bulk of their work is definitely in animal care. They're super instrumental in our day-to-day operations. We're definitely run primarily on volunteers and their work and the time that they donate. So they're always very important to our mission and what we do. We also have transports and volunteers that help out with that. So a lot of our animals come from out of state, particularly our dogs come from a lot of southern states, such as Oklahoma and other states like that. And we have transports that will kind of meet in the middle and pick up those animals. A lot of transports go to somewhere in Missouri and they kind of meet and pick up those animals to bring back to the shelter. So we have volunteers that do help out on some of those long haul transports to those out of state places. We also have drivers that kind of help with more local transports, like bringing animals to and from our clinic, and just kind of shorter distance animal pickups as well. So definitely always looking for people to help be transport drivers. And we have a transport arrival team as well, and they kind of greet the dogs when they come in from a transport, make sure they get a nice little treat, and that they get all situated and everything like that. So that is transports and what we do there. I also just want to highlight a few upcoming events that we have on the horizon. On April 30th, we have a wildlife baby shower, and this is just kind of a fun little fundraising event that our wildlife department is putting on. There's going to be lots of games there, some kids activities, a bake sale, some other sales, and it is at the Elburn Forest Preserve, our Elburn wildlife location. It's going to be from 11 to 3 on the 30th. So definitely going to be lots of fun, kind of a good way to bring in the wildlife season and to kind of get wildlife baby season started, but that's going to be a really great event that we have. And then I also have a little handout about that up here that you guys can take after the presentation. And then this other major event is a little farther out, but I definitely do want to highlight it. Our Subaru Mega Adoption event is going to be on June 24th and June 25th this year. That is one of our biggest adoption events. It is going to be at Brilliant Subaru in Elgin. We have a ton of animals coming to be adopted there. I believe when we had this event last summer, there were over 150 adoptable animals there that weekend, dogs there. So that's going to be a really big event for us this year, and I definitely want to get it on people's radar because it is one of our biggest events of the year, a major adoption event, and definitely looking forward to that. We also had a Subaru event in October as well and got a lot of great adoptions from that too. So that's just some of the major events that we have coming up. Very soon. We do have smaller adoption events, like I said, also on the horizon, but these are kind of the biggest things that we have. And then this is just some information for the volunteer department. If you're interested in any information regarding volunteering, our email address and phone number is up there. So up there for you guys to take a photo or anything like that. That pretty much concludes the presentation here.
Well, Rita, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for
coming
having
out
me.
on
Thank you all for
National
coming.
Pet Day. We appreciate it.